Today, we are going to talk about something interesting. Do you remember the movie ZNMD, where Arjun or Ritik is just scrolling through his life, just collecting moments, collecting experiences, collecting memories, but not actually living? Well, that's us. Except we are living in the age of information overload. We are scrolling through information, through news, through explanations, through 17 different rabbit holes. You want to understand something? So you scroll. How does the economy work? Click. Why do people behave the way they do? Click. What's happening with the rupee? Click again. And by the end of it, you have opened umpteen number of tabs in your head, umpteen different conversation, umpteen different questions, and you understand basically none of them. In fact, you're just slightly more confused than when you started. But here's where it gets interesting, because you actually have the capacity to understand all of this. In fact, you have way more capacity than you realize. Did you know, according to a study, our brain can store approximately 2.5 petabytes of information. Let me put this in perspective. Your smartphone, the one in your hand right now, has maybe 128 gigabytes of storage, maybe 256. You think that's impressive? That's storage for all your photos, your videos, your apps, everything. Well, your brain can store 2.5 million gigabytes, which is equivalent to around 10,000 of smartphones fit in that one head of yours. And here's the crazier part. Yahoo, the internet giant, spent billions building what was at the time the world's largest data warehouse. They used it to track 500 million users, store massive amounts of data, process billions of events a day. It was a marvel of a multi-billion-dollar investment. But Yahoo's entire data warehouse, which is around 2 petabytes, your brain is around 2.5 petabytes, 20% more powerful than Yahoo's entire billion-dollar infra sitting in your head, powered by maybe 20 watts of electricity. And if that doesn't blow your mind, let me tell you that Apollo 11 landed on the moon with 64 kilobytes of memory. Just 64 kilobytes. Your average toaster has more computing power. But you know what? They landed on the moon and they did it perfectly. Because with 64 kilobytes, they had to be focused. Hi, I'm Rishabh. I am a chemical engineer and an MBA grad, and I've spent my last 7 years in strategy and operations, working with the CXOs, with business owners, with people on the ground. And here's what I've learned. The difference between someone who actually gets it and someone who doesn't has absolutely nothing to do with how smart they are or how much information they have collected. It's whether they close their tabs, whether they actually spend time understanding one thing deeply instead of collecting 17 things shallowly. So that's what this channel is about. In each video, I will take one pertinent question about how this civilization works. Not the tech talk version, not the textbook answer, the real, oh, that's why it works like this version. And here's the thing. When you actually understand these things, when you close the tabs instead of leaving it open, everything else starts to make sense. The news, your job, your family, our civilization. You stop being confused and you start being in the game. So, if you want to stop collecting and start understanding, do hit that subscribe button. At Understandably with Rishabh, I will bring to you interesting topics from around the world that we have always thought about but never found the time to really understand it. So stay tuned and see you next time.